September 30th. That is the day the federal incentive for EVs is going away. And that means $7,500 might be tacked back on to the price you would pay today. And well, it would seem that if you are in the market for a new car, something like a Model Y, that yesterday would have been the best time to order, but if not then today. Because if you do not pick up your car by the 30th, you're out of luck. And so if you go into Tesla showrooms, look at people online, everyone is telling you to order now. But I think if you're in the market for a Model Y, this might actually be the worst time to buy. The Tesla Model Y is by far Tesla's most popular car, and with good reason, especially the newer version. It really does sell itself well. I've tested it extensively and talked about it here plenty, and when it comes to nearly every category, the Model Y kind of checks the marks. It's comfortable, even more so than it used to be with all the new features in the Juniper model. It's relatively spacious, especially for its, segment. It's quiet, it's easy to drive. I mean, everything you look for in a car, it has. And then you add on top of that all the Tesla features, especially full self-driving, and well, it feels like a near perfect package. And I think for most people, that is actually the case. It is a very, competent car. And so because of that, if you are in the market, it would make sense to place your order now and try to get in before that September 30th deadline. But there are a few things to consider that if you were not paying attention to the news, you may not know. And it might change how you order this car for the better or for worse. Okay, so there are 3 reasons why you should not buy a Tesla Model Y today, and they really all have to do with the future of Tesla. Just a few days ago, Tesla in China officially announced the Model Y L. This is their elevated version of the Model Y, and it gives you a bunch of upgrades that give you a more luxurious car, but also just a more practical design. On the outside, at first glance, you wouldn't notice anything that different, but there are quite a few tweaks and adjustments that make this just a overall much different car. And the biggest one is that it is significantly bigger. It lands right in between the Model X and the Model Y, so it's right there in the middle. And because of that size difference, the bigger size you're getting, you now have 6 seats available. But apparently, from everything I've seen and what we've seen so far, it is actually a usable 6 seats. So you get the 2 in the front like normal, and then in the rear, you now have captain's chairs, and then you have a 3rd row that you can actually fit in. Tesla has always offered a 3rd row in the Model Y, but it's been a joke. I mean, even kids would have a hard time getting in that 3rd row, and it seemed like something they offered just to say that they did, but I don't really know anyone that's ever actually sat in the 3rd row for real. I guess in a pinch it worked, so if you wanted to have it, you did have the option, but yeah, it wasn't the best solution. But now with the Model Y L, well, these seats actually seem usable, and they're easy to access, and everything folds down flat, so you get a ton of room on the inside if you're not using the seats. The interior space upgrade really is the selling feature here. But space isn't the only thing. There's also a larger screen in the front. The seats have been redesigned in the front as well, that they look a little bit more plush and more comfortable. Plus in the 2nd row with those captain's chairs, you have an automatic armrest that can raise and lower, which is just a neat feature. And there is a new Starlight gold color on the exterior, which is looking pretty nice. Plus there are a few design tweaks here, like the back glass actually goes all the way to the spoilers. There are just a ton of tweaks all over this thing. Now this is only available in China as of right now, and it's not shipping until September, but price-wise, if you're kind of comparing to the US, it would be around $47,000, which for the size of vehicle is not all that bad, especially comparing to the regular Model Y. And the performance and range is really not that different than the smaller variant as well. So really, you're just getting a bigger, slightly more luxurious car, which can be a big selling point. And this is one of the reasons why, if you're in the market for a Model Y and you're just wondering if you should buy, it might be worth waiting to see if this makes it over to the US, because in all likelihood it probably will, because this segment is something that is equally as popular in the United States. So I would not be shocked if it comes very soon. And having used the current Model Y quite a bit, if you have a family or you are, looking to have a family relatively soon and you want to have that extra space, you might start kicking yourself if you choose not to wait and then this thing comes out. It's possible, but the Model Y L is probably one of the biggest reasons why it's worth waiting. We know it's a product that actually exists, and now we just have to wait to see if Tesla brings it to the US, which I think they will. Real quick though, before we continue, I want to thank this video's sponsor, Kinsta. Kinsta is rated the #1 provider of managed hosting by G2, and they give you a ton of features and options that make using them that much better. They can help migrate your site over, so that's super simple. They give you 24/7 live support. So this is a real person that you can actually talk to and get your problems diagnosed and solved quickly. And Kinsta is trusted by over 120,000 different companies, so you know that, hey, they have a solid product. Plus, they were rated #1 in WordPress hosting by G2, and they outranked 357 other companies to get that title, which is a lot. But they get to that position for a reason, because they deliver on what they claim. For example, you can get up to 200% faster performance on your site with Kinsta, and you get great security like enterprise level firewall and an SLA-backed uptime guarantee of up to 99.99%. And so with Kinsta, you will have a site that works, that is easy to use, and that gives you better performance. That's pretty much all you could want from your website. So if you want to learn more and check this out for yourself, I'll leave a link down below, or you can use this QR code on screen. With this, you can get your first month free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. All you have to do is check out the link, scan that code, and see if Kinsta is right for you. Now, the second reason is on the opposite end of the spectrum, and this is another product that we know is coming, and this is the more affordable Model Y. We've been hearing about this more affordable Tesla model for years at this point, and well, we finally got some confirmation of this from Elon himself during an earnings call, where he said that this cheaper model is in fact a Model Y, which means it's just going to be stripped down and have less features than what we have with the regular Model Y. Now, we don't really have a ton of details about this, but considering other things Tesla has done in the past to bring the price down, we can assume they will probably be done here as well. And basically it means taking some of the premium features and getting rid of them. So if you look at this mock-up here, I think it's a pretty good example of what we expect to see. So getting rid of the light bars, so it's just regular headlights and tail lights, getting rid of the glass roof in favor of a just solid roof, which they had talked about doing with the original Model 3 back in the day when they first announced that, but that never actually came. So maybe that'll finally make its way to a Tesla. Also getting rid of the pleather seats and instead putting fabric seats, which is something we've seen in cars that they have sold around the world, never here in the US, but that would be a thing they can easily do to save some cost. And then other features going away, like not having vents in the back for AC and not having that screen in the back for your passengers, would definitely save on some cost. And so if you are in the market for a car that is really more of an appliance, something that you use for getting around town, for commuting, and you don't really want your like luxury car, you just want something cheap and affordable, this might be the best option. And because this is Tesla, we're still expecting them to include the full suite of self-driving hardware and software if you opt for it, meaning you could still have the advantage of having a car that essentially drives itself without having to pay all the premium for it. Now, like I said, details on this are still pretty sparse. The only thing we know is that it is in fact a product that is coming. And considering that the federal tax credit is going away, this makes perfect sense. The question of pricing with Tesla after this tax credit is one that a lot of us have been trying to figure out, and the answer is not exactly clear just yet. But what is most likely to happen is that this more affordable model will get released once the tax credit is gone, and it will slot into the current price, including the tax credit. So once that is gone, the regular Model Y will increase in price. Then they can bring in this more affordable model at the price you pay now, essentially keeping the price the same, but it's just not the same car. That's probably what's going to happen. I wish Tesla would just lower the prices to kind of compensate for this tax credit going away, but that's highly likely not going to happen. But for me personally, this car is one that I'm very interested in looking at because it's almost like the Corolla of the Tesla world. The Model 3 is kind of like the Camry, and this could be like the Corolla, where it's a great entry-level car that does basically everything you need a car to do. It's just not very fancy, and that I think is fine for most people. They just want something that works and is also an EV, and in this case, you should also be getting all the Tesla technology with it. I do think that is a recipe for a home run win. Now, the last thing is on the other end of the spectrum. That is the Tesla Model Y performance. But this is where I cut to a new clip and a new surrounding and just filming on my phone, so ignore that. But as I was editing this, Tesla officially announced that the Model Y performance is real. It is coming in Europe in September. And so this is a real car now. Now, it's not all that different than what we saw when the Model 3 performance came out. So, take the Model Y that we have and that we're used to, but just give it those performance features. And what that looks like is some different styling. So some carbon fiber treatment, a few different bumpers, and a diffuser in the back. It goes 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. So, significantly faster, but not as fast as what you get with the Model 3. It has just over 300 miles of range. And on the interior, there is now the new seats that you get with the, performance package. But what's nice here in the Model Y is that it has extendable leg rests, similar to what we saw in the Model YL. So this should make it a bit more comfortable, especially on long rides. And there is a new 16-inch display. Looks like the bezels are slightly smaller and it should be higher quality. But overall, this is the Model Y performance we were all expecting. And, we saw leaked images of this, spy shots. We saw it testing on the Nürburgring, and now it's official. It's coming to Europe right now, but kind of goes to my point here that this is a car that may be worth waiting for. Before it was just rumors, now it's actually real. And so if this is a car you are in the market for, well, then you're going to want to wait, because here in the US, at least, it is not available just yet. It won't be coming till September in Europe. And I would suspect that it will be coming to the rest of the world as well very soon. But this is a car that personally I have been, very interested in. I wanted to see what Tesla was going to do. There's no real surprises here with what they gave us, but now that it's here, it's just one more data point when I go to make an order. And if you're someone that's in a similar situation, you're looking for which car to buy, now there's one more data point there that you can consider. Maybe it's worth waiting. And I think in a lot of ways, the performance Model Y or the performance models in general are, something to consider. They're pretty fun and they have great handling. I suspect that the Model Y performance will be no different there. But yeah, so this is a real car now, and it's another reason why, if you are in the market, it may be worth waiting. So yeah, if you are in the market for a Tesla Model Y, right now might actually be the worst time to buy, because if you give it just a few months, it's entirely possible that you're going to have a plethora of cars to actually choose from, whereas right now you really only get two options. You get a rear-wheel drive model and a all-wheel drive model. That's kind of it. But if you wait just a little bit longer, you could get those two cars as well, but then a more affordable option if you want that. You can get a bigger version if you want that with the Model YL, and you can possibly get the Model Y Performance if you care about the driving experience. So that could end up being a ton of range and a bunch of options that you can pick from. And so if you can wait, I think it's probably going to be worth it. And so really, you just kind of have to make the decision. Do you want a car that maybe has better features that are better suited towards your particular situation, that works better for you? Or do you want to save potentially $7,500? Those are two, I think, equally valid points to consider. But if you're in the market for a Model Y, things are heating up and getting interesting.